Girl ignored their threats. Alien school repented it instantly. Part 1. The spaceship landed softly on the white stone platform, looked through the window, and saw the most beautiful place she had ever seen. The Galactic Academy stood before her like a dream made real. Tall towers of crystal reached toward the purple sky. Gardens floated in the air, held up by some kind of alien technology. Students of many different species walked along the shining paths below. Took a deep breath. She was 17 years old. She was the first human to ever attend this school. Back on Earth, millions of people had applied for this chance. The Korean government had selected her from thousands of candidates. She had trained for 3 years. She had studied alien languages, alien cultures, and alien biology. She had passed every test they gave her. But now, standing at the door of the spaceship, she felt very small. A floating robot appeared and spoke in a calm voice. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy, student of Earth. Please follow me to the registration center." Picked up her small bag and stepped outside. The air smelled different here. Cleaner. The gravity was a little lighter than Earth, and she felt like she could jump higher than normal. As she walked, she noticed something strange. Every alien student she passed stopped talking. They stared at her with wide eyes. Some of them moved away quickly, like they were afraid. Others whispered to each other in languages she did not understand. Pretended not to notice. She kept her face calm and followed the robot. The registration center was a large round room with a high ceiling. Hundreds of students waited in lines. When entered, the noise died down. Silence spread across the room like a wave. She joined the shortest line and waited. The alien in front of her turned around. It was a species with pale blue skin that glowed softly. They looked at her for a long moment, then quickly turned back around without saying anything. When reached the front of the line, a tired-looking alien with 4 arms sat behind the desk. This was she remembered from her studies. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Name and planet of origin, the said without looking up. Earth. This head snapped up. All 4 of his hands stopped moving. He stared at her like she had grown a second head. Earth, he repeated slowly. The category 12. Yes. The typed something into his computer. His face showed a mix of fear and curiosity. Your room assignment is in Building 7. Your class schedule has been sent to your personal device. Do you have any questions? No, thank you. Took her documents and walked away. She could feel hundreds of eyes following her. Building 7 was on the far edge of the campus. It was the oldest building, the one with the smallest rooms and the fewest students. Understood immediately. They had put her as far from everyone else as possible. Her room was small but clean. A bed, a desk, a window that looked out at a garden of strange purple flowers. She sat on the bed and finally allowed herself to feel tired. Her phone buzzed, a message from her mother back on Earth. "We are so proud of you. Remember who you are. Remember where you come from, fighting." Smiled and typed back a quick reply. Then she lay down and closed her eyes. The next morning woke up early. She put on the academy uniform, a simple gray suit that adjusted to fit her body perfectly. She checked her schedule. Her first class was Galactic History in the main building. The walk across campus was long. Students stared at her the whole way. Some pointed, some laughed. One group of students blocked the path and forced her to walk around them. Said nothing, she kept walking. The classroom was already full when she arrived. She found an empty seat in the back corner and sat down. The students around her immediately moved to different seats, leaving a circle of empty chairs around her. The professor was an old with dim, flickering skin. He looked at his class list and frowned when he reached her name. "We have a special student joining us this year," he announced. "A human from Earth. I trust you will all treat her with the appropriate caution." Some students laughed, others looked nervous. Kept her face blank. She took out her notebook and prepared to learn. The class was interesting. The professor talked about the formation of the Galactic Council, about the wars that had shaped the current peace, about the different species that had risen and fallen over millions of years. Took careful notes. At the end of class, a shadow fell over her desk. She looked up and saw the largest she had ever seen. He was almost 3 meters tall, with 4 muscular arms and a face that showed nothing but contempt. Behind him stood 5 other students, a mix of different species. "So you are the said loudly. Everyone in the classroom stopped to watch. "I am. My father is the ambassador to the Galactic Council. My family has attended this academy for 12 generations." Stood up slowly. Even standing, she barely reached his chest. "Nice to meet you, I am." "I know what you are," continued, ignoring her greeting. "I know what your planet is, a ball of poison and violence, a world where everything kills everything else. Your kind should not be here." The classroom was completely silent. Looked into his eyes. She had faced bullies before, on Earth, in her military academy, in her neighborhood. She knew this type. They wanted fear. They fed on weakness. She would give them neither. "I passed all the same tests as everyone else," she said calmly. "I earned my place here." "You earned nothing. The council let you in because they feel sorry for your primitive species. You are an experiment, a curiosity, nothing more." Leaned down until his face was close to hers. His breath was hot and smelled like metal. "This is your only warning. Leave the academy now, or I will make your life here very, very difficult." Did not step back. She did not look away. Her heart was beating fast, but her face showed nothing. "No," she said simply, "I will not leave." For a moment something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or confusion. He was not used to being refused. Then he laughed, a cold and ugly sound. His followers laughed too. "Your choice," said. "Remember that when things get hard." He turned and walked away, his group following behind him. Watched them go. Then she sat back down and finished packing her bag. As she left the classroom, she passed Doctor, a professor she had not met yet. He was watching her with a strange expression. "That was brave," he said quietly, "or foolish, I'm not sure which." Shrugged. "On Earth, we learn to stand up for ourselves. If we show weakness, we do not survive." Doctor's skin flickered with an emotion she could not read. "Then, perhaps the stories about your world are true after all." "They are," said, "but not in the way everyone thinks." She walked out into the purple sunlight, ready to face whatever came next. Girl ignored their threats. Alien school repented it instantly. Part 2. 2 weeks passed at the academy. Learned quickly that was a man of his word. It started with small things. Her assignments would disappear from the school system. Her name would be left off class lists. Food she ordered in the dining hall would arrive cold or not arrive at all. These were annoying things, but could handle them. Then the real problems began. One morning, she woke up to find all her clothes missing from her room. Someone had taken them during the night. She had to attend classes wearing her sleeping clothes until the academy provided new uniforms. Students laughed at her in the hallways, and his friends smiled every time they passed her. Said nothing. She kept going to class, she kept studying, she kept her head high. The next week, someone spread a rumor that humans were carriers of a deadly disease. For 3 days, no one would come within 10 meters of her. Even the professors kept their distance. Had to take a medical exam to prove the rumor was false. By then, the damage was done. Students looked at her with even more fear than before. Still, she said nothing. She did not complain, she did not fight back. Her mother called her one night, worried. News of the bullying had somehow reached Earth. "Come home," her mother begged. "This is not worth it, your health is more important." "I cannot come home," replied softly. "If I leave now, humans will never get another chance. They will say we are weak. They will say we cannot survive among the other species. I have to stay." Her mother was silent for a long time. "Your father would be proud of you," she finally said. "He always said you were the strongest person he knew." Felt tears in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "I miss him. He is watching over you, I am sure of it." After the call ended, sat alone in her room for a long time. She thought about her father, who had died 3 years ago in a car accident. She thought about how he had taught her to be brave, to never give up, to always do the right thing even when it was hard. She would not let him down. The next day changed her strategy. Instead of hiding in her room, she started spending time in the academy library. It was a massive building filled with knowledge from 1,000 worlds. She read everything she could find about the different species at the school. She learned their histories, their cultures, their strengths and weaknesses. She learned that were peaceful beings who hated violence. Their glowing skin changed color based on their emotions. Blue meant calm, red meant anger, yellow meant fear. She learned that were proud warriors who valued strength above all else. They had 4 arms because their home planet had very strong gravity. They looked down on species they considered weak. She learned about an insect-like species with hard shells and sharp claws. They communicated through clicks and smells as much as words. They were loyal to whoever they saw as the strongest leader. And she learned about. The term was official, used by the Galactic Council to classify planets that were extremely dangerous for life. Most species evolved on calm, stable worlds with mild weather and few predators. Were the opposite. They had violent storms, extreme temperatures, deadly animals, poisonous plants, and constant natural disasters. Earth was rated Category 12, one of the highest danger levels ever recorded. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were monsters. They came from a world where survival was a daily battle, where children learned to fear snakes and spiders before they could walk, where diseases swept across continents and killed millions, where the weather itself could destroy entire cities. The aliens expected humans to be violent, aggressive, and dangerous. They expected to attack anyone who threatened her. They were waiting for her to prove that humans were the savages they believed them to be. Understood now, this was not just bullying, this was a test. One evening, she was walking through the atmospheric gardens. It was her favorite place on campus, a quiet area filled with plants from dozens of different worlds. She liked to go there to think, to escape from the stares and whispers. She was sitting by a small pond when she heard footsteps behind her. 3 figures emerged from the shadows, 2 and 1. She recognized them as members of the group. Well, well, the clicked. Its mandibles made a sound like scissors cutting paper. "Thee is all alone." Stood up slowly. Her heart began to beat faster, but she kept her face calm. "What do you want?" she asked. "Is getting tired of waiting," one of them said. His skin glowed a threatening orange. "You were supposed to leave by now, but you are still here pretending you belong." "I do belong, I earned my place." The laughed, a harsh clicking sound. "You earned nothing. You are an animal from a death planet. You should be in a cage, not a classroom." The moved forward. He reached out to grab's arm. What happened next was pure instinct. Had trained in Taekwondo since she was 6 years old. She had won national championships. She had spent years learning to control her body, to react without thinking, to use an opponent's strength against them. The moment that touched her, she moved. She grabbed his arm and twisted, using his own momentum to throw him over her shoulder. Before he hit the ground, she had already turned to face the insect creature lunged at her with its claws extended. She ducked under the attack and struck the soft spot beneath its shell with her palm. The made a high-pitched screech and collapsed. The second stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. His skin had turned bright yellow, the color of fear. "Please," he whispered, "please do not hurt me." Stood over the 2 groaning aliens on the ground. Her breathing was fast but steady. Her hands were not shaking. She looked at the frightened, "I did not want this," she said quietly. "I just wanted to be left alone, but I will not be a victim. Do you understand?" The nodded frantically. "Go back to, tell him what happened here. Tell him that I am not leaving. Tell him that if he wants me gone, he will have to do better than this." The ran away without looking back. His two companions slowly got up and limped after him, too hurt and too scared to speak. Watched them go. Then she sat back down by the pond and looked at the alien stars reflected in the water. Her hands were shaking now just a little. She had not wanted to fight. She did not enjoy hurting people, but she had learned long ago that sometimes showing strength was the only way to survive. The next morning, everyone at the academy knew what had happened. The story spread like fire. They had defeated 3 attackers without weapons. She had moved faster than anyone could see. She had shown no mercy. Students who had ignored her before now looked at her with new eyes. Some were still afraid, but there was something else in their expressions now. Something that looked almost like respect. In the dining hall, a young student approached her table. His skin was flickering nervously between blue and yellow. "May I sit here?" he asked quietly. Looked up surprised. "Of course." The sat down across from her. "My name is, I saw what you did in the gardens. It was impressive. I did not enjoy it." "I know, that is what makes it impressive." Skin settled into a calm blue. "I think maybe we were wrong about, or at least wrong about you." Smiled for the first time in weeks. "Maybe, I'm still figuring things out myself." They ate together in silence, and for the first time since she arrived, did not feel completely alone. Girl ignored their threats. Alien school repented it instantly. Part 3. 3 days after the fight in the gardens, received an official message on her personal device. She read it twice to make sure she understood correctly. It was a formal challenge. Had invoked something called the Ritual of Contestation, an ancient academy tradition. According to the rules, any student could challenge another to a formal contest to settle a dispute. The challenger chose the type of contest. Refusing meant automatic expulsion. And had chosen armed combat. Sat in her room and thought about this for a long time. She understood what was doing. He could not accept being embarrassed by a human. His pride demanded revenge. More than that, he wanted to prove that we're dangerous animals who solved every problem with violence. If she fought him and won, she would confirm their fears. If she fought him and lost, she would prove humans were weak. Either way would get what he wanted. But she had no choice. Refusing meant leaving the academy. Leaving meant failing humanity. She sent her acceptance. The day of the contest, the great amphitheater was completely full. Thousands of students crowded the crystal seats. Professors stood along the walls. Even the headmaster was there, his strange geometric body floating above the highest row. News of the challenge had spread beyond the academy. Representatives from several alien governments had come to watch. This was not just a school fight anymore. This was a test of humanity itself. Walked into the arena alone. She wore simple clothes, the same training uniform she had brought from Earth. No armor, no decorations. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. Her face showed no emotion. Was already waiting. He stood in the center of the arena, dressed in the traditional armor of a warrior. His 4 arms each held a different weapon, an energy blade that glowed bright blue, a shock staff that crackled with electricity, a neural disruptor that could cause overwhelming pain, a gravity hammer that could crush bones with a single blow. Behind him, his followers cheered and shouted insults at. The headmaster's voice echoed through the amphitheater. This ritual of contestation is now open. Of House has challenged of Earth. The contest is armed combat. The fight ends when one combatant yields or cannot continue. Lethal force is forbidden. A pause. Of Earth, you may now select your weapons. Everyone looked at the weapon rack that had been prepared for her. It held energy swords, plasma pistols, force shields, and many other advanced weapons. Any of them would give her a fighting chance. Looked at the weapons, then she looked at the thousands of faces watching her from the stands. "I choose no weapons," she said clearly. The amphitheater went completely silent, even looked confused. "You refuse to arm yourself?" the headmaster asked. "I do not refuse, I choose. I will fight with my hands." Whispers spread through the crowd. Some aliens laughed, others shook their heads in disbelief. They thought she was crazy. They thought she was committing suicide. Confusion turned into a cruel smile. "Stupid, you just made this very easy for me." Walked to the center of the arena and stopped 5 meters from. She took a deep breath and centered herself, just like her father had taught her years ago. Then she bowed. It was a Korean bow, deep and respectful. The kind of bow you give to an honored opponent before a match. The kind of bow that shows you take the fight seriously. Stared at her. "What are you doing?" "It is a human tradition," said, straightening up. "We show respect to our opponents before we fight them." "Respect," laughed. "I do not want your respect, I want you gone." "I know, but I give it anyway." The signal sounded. The fight began. Charged immediately. He was fast, much faster than his size suggested. His 4 weapons moved in a coordinated pattern, attacking from multiple angles at once. Any normal opponent would have been overwhelmed in seconds. Was not a normal opponent. She did not try to block his attacks. She did not try to match his strength. Instead, she moved like water, flowing around his strikes, staying just out of reach. His energy blade cut through the air where she had been a moment before. His shock staff missed her by centimeters. His gravity hammer smashed into the ground, leaving a crater where she had been standing. The crowd gasped. No one could believe what they were seeing. Grew angry. He attacked faster, harder, using combinations that had defeated every opponent he had ever faced, but was always one step ahead. She seemed to know where his attacks would go before he made them. Then she struck back. She ducked under his energy blade and stepped inside his guard. Her hand shot out and hit a precise spot on his lower back. It was a pressure point she had learned from her xenobiology studies, a nerve cluster that shared with several other species. His 2 lower arms went limp instantly. He roared in surprise and pain. He tried to spin and hit her with his shock staff, but she was already behind him. Another strike to his knee joint, another to his shoulder, a final one to the base of his neck. In less than 30 seconds, collapsed to the ground. All 4 of his limbs were numb and useless. His weapons clattered on the stone floor around him. The amphitheater was absolutely silent. Stood over him, not even breathing hard. She had not been touched once. She had not needed to throw a single punch or kick. She had simply found his weaknesses and used them against him. "Do you yield?" she asked calmly. His face was twisted with humiliation and rage. He tried to move, tried to get up, but his body would not obey him. "I cannot," he gasped. "I cannot move. The numbness will fade in about an hour. No permanent damage, but I will ask again. Do you yield?" The silence stretched on. Everyone was watching. Everyone was waiting. Finally closed his eyes. "I yield." Nodded, then she did something no one expected. She bowed again. The same deep, respectful bow she had given before the fight. The same bow that honored her opponent. Then she turned and walked toward the exit, leaving the most powerful student in the academy lying helpless on the ground. The amphitheater erupted into noise. Some aliens were shouting in disbelief. Others were arguing about what they had just seen. A few were even clapping. But did not hear any of it. She walked out into the sunlight and let out a long, slow breath. She had won, but she knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Girl ignored their threats. Alien school repented it instantly. Part 4. The days following the fight changed everything at the academy. walked to her first class the next morning expecting more stares, more whispers, more fear. Instead, she found something completely different. Students moved out of her way not because they were afraid, but because they were giving her space out of respect. Some even nodded at her as she passed. One brave student actually said good morning. In the dining hall, she no longer sat alone. Was there, of course, but others joined too. A quiet named who was studying medicine. A small furry alien named Bora whose species had never seen before. Even a few students who were not part of group. They asked her questions about Earth, about humans, about how she had learned to fight like that. Answered honestly. She told them about her childhood in Korea, about the mountains and the rivers and the crowded cities. She told them about her father, who had been a martial arts instructor before he died. She told them about the military academy where she had trained for 3 years before coming here. But you did not use martial arts in the fight, said, her skin glowing with curiosity. You did not punch or kick, you just touched him. The best fighters do not need to cause pain, explained. On Earth, we learn that the body has many weak points, pressure points, nerve clusters, joints. If you know where they are, you can stop an opponent without hurting them badly. Why would you want to avoid hurting them? Bora asked, genuinely confused. He wanted to hurt you. Because causing unnecessary pain is wrong. Even when someone is your enemy, they are still a living being. You should use the minimum force needed to protect yourself. The aliens at her table exchanged looks. This was not what they had expected from her. The professors noticed the change too. Doctor approached her after xenobiology class, his skin cycling through colors she had never seen before. Your fight with has been analyzed by every military expert in the system, he said. They cannot believe what they saw. You defeated a trained warrior in 30 seconds without weapons and without causing permanent injury. I did not want to fight at all, said. I know that is what confuses them most. Doctor was quiet for a moment. May I ask you a personal question? Of course. You could have killed him. At several points during the fight, you could have struck fatal blows. Why did you not? Thought about the question carefully before answering. On Earth, we have a long history of violence, wars, murders, terrible cruelty. For most of our history, we solved problems by destroying each other. But we learned slowly that violence creates more violence. Revenge creates more revenge. The only way to break the cycle is to show mercy, even to those who show you none. Dr. Glow settled into a deep, thoughtful blue. Your species is strange. You come from the most violent world we know, yet you speak of mercy and restraint. Because we have seen what happens without them, we nearly destroyed ourselves many times. We learned from our mistakes. That afternoon, received a summons to the headmaster's office. The headmaster's office was at the top of the tallest tower. The room was circular, with windows on all sides that showed the entire campus below. The headmaster himself floated in the center, his geometric shapes rotating slowly. Please sit, he said, indicating a chair that seemed to form out of nowhere. Sat and waited. You have created quite a situation, student, the headmaster began. The ritual of contestation has not been invoked in over 100 years. It was meant to be forgotten, a relic of more violent times. Instead, it has been broadcast across a dozen star systems. I apologize for any trouble I have caused. Do not apologize. I did not summon you to scold you. The headmaster's shapes rotated faster, a sign of excitement or agitation. I summoned you because I want to understand something. What do you want to understand? You could have refused the challenge. The rule about expulsion is old and rarely enforced. I would have found a way to let you stay. Nodded slowly. I considered that, but I decided that running away would send the wrong message. Humans have spent thousands of years being told we are weak, that we cannot survive without our technology, that we are soft compared to the galaxy's older species. I wanted to show that we are strong in ways others do not expect. By fighting, by winning without cruelty, by showing control instead of rage, by treating my enemy with respect even when he treated me with hate. The headmaster was silent for a long time. His shape stopped rotating entirely, something had never seen before. 300 years ago, he finally said, this academy encountered another species from They were everything the galaxy feared: violent, aggressive, impossible to reason with. They killed thousands before they were contained. Waited, sensing he was not finished. Since then, every species has been judged by that example. When humans were discovered, many in the council wanted to destroy your kind before you could become a threat. Others argued for containment, keeping you trapped on your own planet forever. I did not know that. Few humans do. The debate was kept secret. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Humans would be given one chance to prove themselves. One student sent to one academy to show what your species truly is. Understood now, me. Yes, you were never just a student, you were a test case, an experiment. Everything you do here will determine how the galaxy treats humanity for generations to come. The weight of those words settled on shoulders. She had known her mission was important, but she had not realized how important. I will not fail, she said quietly. You have not failed yet. In fact, you have done something remarkable. You have shown that it can be strong without being cruel, that you can defend yourself without becoming a monster. The headmaster's shapes began rotating again, faster than before. Tomorrow, there will be a formal assembly. We'll make a public apology for his behavior. His family has already agreed. This is unprecedented. A noble has never apologized to anyone outside their own species. I do not need an apology. Perhaps not, but the galaxy needs to see it. They need to see that humans can change things not through violence but through example. Stood up, I understand, I will do my best. I believe you will. The headmaster paused. One more thing. Yes. Your father would be proud of you, very proud indeed. His eyes widened. How do you know about my father? I read all the files of my students. Your father taught you well. The lessons he gave you may end up changing the course of history. Bowed, her eyes wet with tears she refused to let fall. Thank you, headmaster. She walked out of the office and into the sunlight, carrying the hope of her entire species on her small shoulders. Girl ignored their threats. Alien school repented it instantly. Part 5. The assembly was held in the great amphitheater, the same place where had fought just days before. Every seat was filled. Students, professors, administrators, and visitors from across the galaxy had come to witness something historic. Sat in the front row with her new friends. Was beside her, his skin glowing a calm blue, sat on her other side, quietly nervous. Bora was curled up in a seat behind them, watching everything with wide, curious eyes. The headmaster floated to the center of the arena and raised one of his geometric shapes, calling for silence. We are gathered here today for a rare event, he announced, his voice echoing through the amphitheater. A member of one of the galaxy's most powerful families has requested to address the assembly. The crowd murmured. Everyone knew what was coming, but hearing it officially made it feel real. Walked into the arena. He looked different than before. His proud posture was still there, but something in his eyes had changed. He was not wearing his warrior armor. Instead, he wore simple clothes, similar to what had worn during their fight. His father, the ambassador, watched from the VIP section. His face was impossible to read. Stopped in the center of the arena and faced the crowd. He took a deep breath. I have acted with dishonor, he said, his voice strong despite the shame in his words. I targeted a fellow student because of fear and prejudice. I tried to drive her away through cruelty and threats. When that failed, I used the ritual of contestation as a weapon instead of a path to justice. The amphitheater was completely silent. I was wrong about humans, about everything. Turned to face directly. You defeated me without hatred. You showed mercy when you had every right to hurt me. You treated me with respect when I had shown you none. He walked toward her and stopped a few meters away. I apologize, not because my family demanded it, not because the headmaster ordered it, but because I was wrong and you deserve to hear me say it. Stood up and faced him. The entire galaxy seemed to be holding its breath. I accept your apology, she said simply. Then she did something that shocked everyone, including himself. She extended her hand. On Earth, this gesture was common. A handshake was a sign of peace, of respect, of a new beginning. But the aliens had never seen anything like it. On my world, we have a tradition, explained. When two people make peace, they shake hands. It means we agree to leave the past behind and start again. Stared at her hand. His own 4 hands hung at his sides, uncertain. I do not deserve your friendship, he said quietly. Maybe not yet, but you can earn it. Everyone deserves a chance to become better than they were. Slowly, hesitantly, reached out and took her hand in one of his. His grip was strong but gentle. The amphitheater erupted into noise. Some aliens were cheering. Others were crying. A few were still trying to understand what they had just seen. Smiled, a real smile, the first one since she had arrived at the academy. In the months that followed, became something she had never expected. She became a teacher. It started with small sessions in the library. Students would come to her with questions about Earth, about humans, about the strange that had produced such unusual beings. She answered honestly, hiding nothing about humanity's violent history. We have done terrible things, she told them. Wars that killed millions, weapons that could destroy entire cities, cruelty that makes your worst nightmare seem gentle. Then how are you still alive? A young asked. Because we learned. Every time we approached the edge of extinction, we stepped back. We chose to change instead of die. We invented laws to limit violence. We created art and music to express pain without causing it. We built systems to help the weak instead of destroying them. The sessions grew larger. Students brought friends. Professors started attending. Even became a regular visitor, sitting in the back and listening carefully. Taught them about Korean culture, about the respect for elders and the importance of education. She taught them about martial arts philosophy, about using strength to protect rather than destroy. She taught them about human history, the good and the bad, the triumphs and the failures. We are not perfect, she always said. We never will be, but we keep trying to be better. That is what makes us human. On the last day of the school year, was invited to give the graduation speech. It was another historic moment. No human had ever addressed a Galactic Academy graduation before. She stood at the podium and looked out at thousands of faces, and in dozens of other species she had learned to recognize over the past year. Her friends sat in the front row, was among them. When I came to this academy, began, I was afraid, not of the aliens, not of the challenges. I was afraid that I would fail, that I would prove humanity was not ready for the stars. She paused, gathering her thoughts. I was told that my world was a place of violence and danger, a place that produces monsters, and it is true that Earth is dangerous. We have storms that destroy cities, animals that can kill in seconds, diseases that spread faster than fire. The audience was silent, listening. But Earth also gave us something precious. It gave us the will to survive, the ability to adapt, the strength to face any challenge and find a way through, not by being the strongest or the fastest or the most violent, but by being smart, by working together, by learning from our mistakes. Looked at and smiled. When I fought, I could have hurt him badly. Part of me wanted to. He had made my life very difficult, but I chose mercy instead. Not because I am weak, but because I am strong enough to control my anger, strong enough to see my enemy as a person instead of a target. She addressed the whole assembly again. That is what humanity offers the galaxy. Not weapons, not violence, not fear. We offer the lesson we learned through thousands of years of struggle. The lesson that the true measure of strength is not how much damage you can cause, but how much damage you can prevent. Took a deep breath. I came here as a test case, an experiment. The galaxy wanted to know if humans could be trusted among the stars. I hope I have given you an answer. But more than that, I hope I have given you something to think about. She bowed, the same deep Korean bow she had given before their fight. Thank you for this year. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for teaching me as much as I taught you. The applause that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. Students rose to their feet. Professors clapped their hands or tentacles or whatever they had. Even the headmaster's geometric shapes spun in what I'd learned to recognize as joy. Later that night, stood alone on the observation deck, looking up at the stars. Her phone buzzed, a message from her mother. I watched your speech, the whole world watched. We are so proud of you, your father is smiling down at you right now. Come home soon, we miss you. Smiled and typed back, I will, but there is still so much to do here, this is just the beginning. She looked up at the stars again. Somewhere out there, millions of species were watching, waiting, wondering what humanity would do next. Intended to show them. The girl had survived the academy. Now it was time to survive the galaxy. And she was ready.